Coming up on today's Next Fan Up podcast. Oh yeah, the thrill of victory and agony of defeat. We recap the NFL Divisional Round of the playoffs. Here we go.
That's how we start! Yeah, baby!
32 SuperFans.
Where do the reports come from? Did you get an initial?
One Pod Vader.
That's football.
Every angle of the NFL covered.
All that kind of stuff, I get it.
This,
no question about it,
is Next Fan Up.
We're going to unleash hell here in December.
Hey everybody, Pod Vader here. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Next Fan Up podcast. I'm filling in for Ron and James, who usually do a little bit of commentary on the NFL playoff recaps, but this time around I'm just going to let the SuperFans do all the heavy lifting. Really, I'm only here to really let you know what exactly it is that you're going to hear. We're going to replay the recaps of all of the games from this past weekend's action in chronological order. So we'll start with the 49ers victory over the Minnesota Vikings, and we will end with the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. In between, you will hear from the Nashville Cinderellas, the Tennessee Titans, and of course, the crazy wild game that happened in Kansas City. All of that coming up for you here in just a little minute. First, before I get into that, if you want to listen to any of our podcasts, all you need to do, check out our archives wherever great podcasts are heard. We like to tell you a lot about Apple Podcasts. We like to tell you a lot about Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc., etc. Just go to any place that you're listening to podcasts. Go to any of those sites. Check out our back catalog. There is some content that works for you even beyond the title of said podcast. For instance, just last week during our divisional round preview, at the 2-hour mark of that particular podcast, we get into a very important conversation about race and coaching in the NFL, talking about how the Rooney Rule isn't really working. So all you need to do is go back to that particular episode, jump to the 2-hour mark, and you can listen to that. There's a timestamp right there for you if you're using Spotify, or if you go to Spreaker.com, you can check out, we have chapter markers on our player there. You can also go back to the wild card preview. In that particular show, jump to the 1.5 hour mark, and we'll be talking about all the non-playoff teams. So it won't be a playoff preview at that point. We're going to talk, in that particular episode, we talked a lot about the new coaches, and some of the coaching vacancies in that particular game, in that particular week, and, what those teams need to do moving forward, who were the best fits for those particular teams. And if you want to go even further back, you can go to our Week 17 preview, which really wasn't a Week 17 preview. It was more of an off-season preview, what these teams need to do moving forward. Some of those teams we knew were going into the playoffs. We didn't have an idea of what the seeding was at that particular time, but you can hear our conversations about what teams needed to do heading into the offseason, what problems they had to address, and a lot of good stuff there. So anytime you want to check out any of our old interviews, they're always available in the archive wherever great podcasts are heard. For now, I know you're here to listen to playoff recaps. Here we go.
Hello, my name is Charlie, the 49ers superfan. I am calling to you from the great state of Washington. It is even more great because the Niners won, and so far the Seahawks are down at halftime against the Green Bay Packers to find out who's going to play the San Francisco 49ers. I'm here to discuss that very game, the Vikings-Niners. The 49ers were able to hold Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota passing attack to a playoff record low in the Super Bowl era of passing yards. So a lot of these things, when we talk about what the Niners could do to win this game, it was shutting down the run game. Dalvin Cook was absolutely awful. They had about 10 total carries for the Vikings, and the Niners had over 40 total carries, and at one point had 12 rushes in a row after the Richard Sherman pick. So I had stated in my recap that this game was going to be a low-scoring game at the beginning, but unfortunately it was not. Niners went down, passed the ball, basically every play for a drive, scored right away, was able to get ahead. Then Vikings got the ball back, and then were able to go down and score themselves. Then, unfortunately, that was on a long pass play to Stephon Diggs. Akello Witherspoon was beaten on the coverage and was unable to get back there to make the play. He was subsequently pulled from the game. Emmanuel Mosley came in, and for the rest of the game, there wasn't a long pass completed deep by the Vikings the rest of the game, along with some amazing pass rush by the 49ers. Kirk Cousins was not able to step up in the pocket. He had Eric Armstead, who started off with the sacks, then DeForest Buckner, and, of course, D Ford, and even Solomon Thomas got in on a sack. Basically, the Niners' defensive investment just on the defensive line with all their first-rounders just absolutely overwhelmed the Vikings. The Vikings were basically able to kick a field goal, I believe, before half. Still looked like it was going to be a close game. Then when the Niners got the ball back in the second half, they were able to score. Well, actually, I should take a step back. Right before half, the Niners were up 14-7 driving, and Jimmy G threw an absolutely awful pass to Aaron Kendricks, was intercepted. And the turning point of this game was, even though the Vikings had the ball in Niners territory in plus position, they were not able to score a touchdown. Niners defense held them to a field goal. Niners took a 14-10 lead into halftime and then blew the game open after a Richard Sherman interception. And then the Niners just basically ran the clock the rest of the game. By then, Dalvin Cook was no longer a factor from the run game. The Vikings tried to put him in the screen, but it was too late. The Niners defensive line was able to hunt down Cousins, and that's all she wrote. So Niners will face the winner of the Seahawks and Green Bay Packers. It'll be interesting to see who they play. Either way, I'm happy with whoever. I'm happy to watch the Seahawks lose, and I'm also happy to eliminate the Seahawks, because honestly, I think the 49ers are going to beat both these teams. And my prediction is Niners-Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Boy, that's going to be a tough game versus the Chiefs offense after what they did, down 24 points to the Texans earlier today. So anyway, sit back. We got to rest this second half for the Seahawks to watch. And we'll find out who I'll be previewing later this week for the 49ers against their NFC championship rival, and who eventually, when they go to the Super Bowl, I think they'll beat both these teams just like they did earlier in the year. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Hey, everyone. This is Don. I am the Ravens super fan. I'm here with Jordan, the Titans super fan. The Tennessee Titans beat the Baltimore Ravens 28-12 on Saturday night in Baltimore. It was a very, very good game for the Titans, a dominating victory, really, from start to finish. And as far as the Ravens go, a pretty miserable loss, which we'll get into in a little bit. But Jordan, you want to say congratulations and kind of want to get your thoughts about your predictions going into the game, and then, how they executed, and eventually, your thoughts on the outcome.
Well, thank you. It was obviously an amazing game for me. I think going into the game, I was really just hoping, I thought at best it would kind of be close. We could get it down to the wire, maybe get a lucky break or two and squeak one out in the fourth quarter and just kind of grind the game down. But we kind of just dominated in a way that I did not expect whatsoever. I thought the Ravens were going to get their points and that we were going to have to basically outscore you guys. I did not see our defense was really just phenomenal. I mean, really the second half of the season, it hadn't been that good. And I think Adoree Jackson coming back really helped the secondary. And I mean, just holding you guys to 12 points and all the goal line stand, or not just the goal line stands, but 4th and 1 stops, I guess, that we had. And the turnovers were just huge. And then I knew obviously our game plan is going to be to feed Derrick Henry, but it's like everybody knows that. And you guys have a good defense, but he still goes for 30 and 195 on the ground, which is just insane. Like, even looking at that number on the stat sheet, it's like, I can't believe he's doing that. Like, I thought he was going to have a good game, but I thought a good game would be like 100 yards, not 200 yards. And I just love the play calling we had. Like, obviously the jump pass at the goal line was amazing. The play action deep ball to Khalif Raymond was amazing. Really just like a full, complete game all around from this team. Really like probably one of the best games we played all season, or maybe the best game we played all season. So, I mean, I'm thrilled. I kind of expected to beat the Patriots because they had been really on the downhill lately, but the Ravens had a top offense and a top defense. So I did not think it was going to go like this. So, I mean, I could not be more happy with my team right now. So, yeah, it was a fantastic game for us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you guys also had that play call, the Tannehill pitch option to Henry. From where we were sitting at, you can see everybody teeing in, getting ready to pounce on Derrick Henry, but Tannehill ended up keeping the ball and being able to score. I thought the Titans really executed so well. When I recorded with Pod, I think my prediction was, it was like 30-27 Ravens, and the X factor, I think, was the tight ends. I guess it ended up being true, at least for the X factor, because you guys really shut down the tight ends for the most part. There wasn't these big, huge chunk plays that we're used to. They were all over them. Interestingly, they prevented Lamar Jackson from being able to run, especially cut up the middle. They made him stretch it all the way to the sideline, which is really a good strategy. But man, I really thought, I don't know if Greg Roman saw something different, or I really think the Ravens outsmarted themselves on offense, especially. You're just going in, constant shotgun formation, or even having five wides. That's not what the Ravens do. It's not their offense. You're not even like attempting to run it, whether it be a gimpy Mark Ingram or Gus Edwards, out of the pistol. The pistol is their bread and butter, which is, I don't understand why they never really, they started out with it a little bit the first drive or two, but man, they got away with it so quick, and they weren't out of it at that point. So I think they really panicked.
I mean, yeah, Gus Edwards, 3 carries for 20 yards. I feel like he should have gotten much more, because I know Ingram was probably not at 100%. Like you guys really, I mean, Lamar was running, but you weren't doing your main run game, which is what I was expecting to happen. And like as soon as you got into your like shotgun, like 4 wide or whatever, I was like, this is good because it's not what the Ravens want to be doing. So I definitely thought you would have, if Ingram wasn't 100%, I thought you would have just fed Gus Edwards just the same, and that didn't really happen.
No, they just never went to it, and I don't understand what the issue was. But at the same time, I know the Ravens defense early on got some short fields because of the turnover and the turnover on downs. Man, they just got gashed all night long. Everybody would get really pumped up, to see, Derrick Henry stuff for a 2 or 3 yard gain, and then he just, it was coming. I mean, that's a sign of a good offense, is that you don't necessarily have to do all these crazy plays. You dictate what you're going to do. What the team knows what's coming, and they just can't stop it. The Ravens got beaten out of their own, beaten at their own game, especially with that physical running style. I mean, I'm still pissed off that they had a game like they did, but I mean, it's nothing I can really do about it. So it was a hell of a victory for the Titans. Not at all what I expected.
And you guys, obviously the Ravens were able to get a ton of yards, but I feel like the Titans won all like the big plays, like every 4th and 1, we stopped you multiple times.
Yep.
And like every like big play, like our defense would just show up when it needed to.
Yeah,
it was just,
you're exactly right.
Yeah. And then obviously Derek was able to just, I can't even believe he had 195 yards, because it felt like he was just getting like a little bit at a time, but then every once in a while he just breaks one. And it's just amazing that we can win playoff games throwing less than 100 yards 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. Tannehill only needs 88 pass yards to win. So it's wild.
He didn't turn it over, ran the ball well, got turnovers. They executed, man. I mean, it worked so far. So, I mean, the Ravens have a lot of work to do. Considering their record, there's a lot of holes that need to be fixed going into next season if they want to be able to get over this hump. We'll see. I have faith that they're a young enough team, but a very, very discouraging loss. As we're recording this, we already know where the Titans are going next week. So the Titans will be in Kansas City for the AFC Championship game. I mean, I know Kansas City has a quick, high-powered offense, but man, the Titans can just grind it out and just do ball control. Derrick Henry can pop off. I mean, I don't think it's going to be they're not going to win by 20 points or whatever they did today. I mean, it's going to be a tough out for Kansas City.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a high-scoring game. I mean, because at least with Kansas City, I'm not too worried about their defense, especially their run defense. And we already beat them this year. We also beat them in the playoffs 2 years ago. Obviously,